I just get back from New York City. I had such a fucking great time going back there, doing the 5th annual Patrice O'Neill benefit right out of the gate. Thank you to everyone that came down to the show. The show was unbelievable. I mean, I wasn't there last year because of the snow. I got snowed in. But of the 4 that I've seen, that might have been the strongest show that we've had. We've always had strong shows, but there was something about that show. It was like the perfect level of his friends, of new guys that were influenced by him, and just the ball breaking that was going on during the fucking show. Jesus Christ. Rich Voss making fun of Keith Robinson. Fucking... What's his face? I think Norton, of course. Norton had the best line. He was talking about how funny Keith was. He goes, "You should have had a stroke 15 years ago." He goes, "I don't understand how Keith had a stroke and he still talks. He's still easier to understand than Rich Voss." Those are probably 2 of the best ones. And Voss had like this stupid fucking... He had like this paisley shirt from like the early 90s. Like every drum instructional video that I bought from the early 90s where they'd have those jazz guys who were such good musicians. You know, you get so good that your music sucks after a while. They were playing like that 94-7 The Wave, that smooth jazz shit, you know. He had one of those shirts, and then he had like a fucking Justin Timberlake does fucking Bing Crosby, one of those fucking hipster hats that even hipsters stopped wearing those things like 10 years ago. And it was blue on blue. So we were backstage, and, you know, all of us fucking jaded people are going, "No, Rich, it looks good. No, you should wear it." Because he wasn't sure about it. And Pete Davidson, the new kid, right? New kid, he's already on fucking SNL. That's how old I am. He was actually telling Rich, going, "Rich, you can't wear that. It looks terrible." And I was finally like, "Pete, shut up. The whole game is that we know it looks, don't tell him that." And he just started laughing. Then he went along with it. And I believe he took it off his head at the end of his set. We had such a great time, and everybody fucking killed. Right out of the gate, we had Dan Soder went up first after Voss. And he went up there and absolutely just fucking murdered. It was like he'd been doing theaters his whole life. Keith killed. Pete Davidson destroyed. Even though he did this whole bit about there's no excuse to go bald. That kind of bugged me in this day and age. Saying there was enough medicine out there or something like that. Then Jim Norton crushed. Then it was Dave Attell. And then Leslie Jones. And then I had to mop up in the end after all those guys fucking killing, man. It was awesome. And thank you, of course, to Maureen Tarrant, who's the real force behind the whole thing. She puts the whole thing together. She gets all us ADD comics somehow to show up at the same place at the right time every year. She deals with all the finances of renting out the place. She deals with the whole fucking thing. So special thanks to her. And once again, everybody that came out, everybody at the stand, you know, Dave and Chris down at the stand for always hooking us up with the after party and all that shit. Just had a great fucking time. And that's it, all right? Until we do it again next year. It really is I got to be honest, it's my favorite fucking gig of the year. It's so much fucking fun because none of these guys I ever get to work with them now because they all headline. Now if I get to see them again, it's just such a fucking great time. Jim Florentine just came down to hang out. I'm trying to make sure I remember everybody, but it was great. And I was in New York for a couple of days and had a great time. Like the first night, Monday night, I just went out and I started hitting all these clubs that I used to, I used to work out in back in the day when I lived in New York. I went to Caroline's first and jumped on this show. And, I was waiting to go on. And as always, I always end up seeing somebody funny. It's comedian Carmen Lynch, who I've seen a bunch of times before, but I hadn't seen her in a while. I'm not going to tell you the bit, but she did some bit that was fucking hilarious. And I believe she's going to be on Stephen Colbert this Friday night. And she told me she was going to be doing the bit. The bit's basically about people that can sleep through anything. So anyways, I went up and I just go on stage and I do the shit that I'm working on and some older shit that I'm bringing back that I'm putting a new spin on. And it was just wire to wire, this perfect fucking set. I was taping it, I have a point 2% chance that I'll actually go back and listen to it, but the fact that I'm recording it makes me feel good, right? And I was actually going to listen to it because I got these gigs coming up in Phoenix, right? I got to get my shit together. And this set ends. And for whatever fucking reason, I never touched the phone. It just shut off after like 2 minutes. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So then I go up to the but I still felt great, you know? And I was like, I'll remember the shit. So I go up to the comic strip, which was my home club when I first got to New York, way back in the day with Lucian, the late, great Lucian Holt, who would sit there. You'd walk in and be like, hey, Lucian, hey, I'm a comedian. I just moved down from Boston. And you would just go, yeah, I already have enough white guys. He would literally say that. I already have enough white guys. And I remember all these white guy comics would get so fucking mad and be like, you see, it's the same thing. That's fucking reverse facing me. It's like, no, it isn't. It isn't. You know what the fuck he's saying. He has a million of you. And if you're just going to be another fucking white guy that grew up in a fucking cul-de-sac, he already has it. It's like it's a grocery store. All right? And he's got fucking ears of corn stacked up to the fucking, ceiling, and you come in, you want to buy a bushel? No. I don't. You got any chickpeas there, Freckles, right? So I knew what he meant when he said it. It's like, don't come in here and just be doing the what's the deal with shit. So I remember when he said that to me. I just was a little frustrated, but I just said to myself, I'll get in here. I'll get in here eventually. But, oh, man, I remember there was so many fucking white dude comics would get so mad at that. You could never say that to another fucking group of people. It's like, yeah. But it's white on white, so you can get away with it. You know what I mean? Like, black people can say fucked up shit to each other. You can keep it in-house. It's like your family. You can say whatever the fuck you want. You're still going to sit down for Thanksgiving together. You have to. Your family. You know what I mean? It's the same fucking thing. I remember exactly where I was. I just remember him smiling and nodding, and he closed his eyes. And I was like, oh, my God, this guy's actually an open person. I'd love to get his spot here. And he's smiling, nodding. I'm like, here it comes. Maybe he's going to give me a phone number or something. I already have enough white guys. I was sitting there with my stupid backpack, just walking away. We always used to reference of Bill Bixby at the end of the Hulk, when he would just be walking down the road with that sad piano music. That's how I left the club. But I had my little positive fucking things that I would say to myself to get me to go over to the next club. Who the fuck was over at Stand Up New York back in the day? He was a good dude, and I remember he had a dead tooth. That's all I remember, and I would go in there, and he didn't sugarcoat it at all. When I walked up to him, I remember telling him that I was a new comic, and the look of fucking pain on he just sort of looked up, like I was talking to the side of his head, and he just looked up, and he just made this face, literally, like he had a major operation, and this is the first time they were removing the bandages. That was the look on his face when I talked to him. I think I actually petered out through the sentence. I was like, hey, whatever his name was, hey, so-and-so, my name's Bill Burr. I'm a comedian. I just moved down here from New York, and I just want to... Yeah. And then I just fucking walked away. So, all these years later, to still be able to go back to New York and walk into these clubs, and they still know who I am, and they'll actually put me on stage. The thrill of that and the privilege of that has never fucking gone away. So anyway, I go to the comic strip, and now I'm feeling all cocky because I just had a great set. So, I mean, all the years that I've done this, I never see the bomb coming after that. I'm feeling all fucking good about myself. I'm like, I'm going to go up, I'm going to do it just like I did it at Caroline's. It's going to come out perfectly. It's going to be fucking, minted into my brain, and this is going to be a nice cornerstone to start this next fucking hour, right? And, of course, I go in there. Nobody's paying attention. Small crowd. Somebody's ordering, and I don't know what was going on. There was this giant group of people right in the front, and I think I basically deduced that they all just had the ideal childhood, and they couldn't relate to anything I was saying. And I basically had to start over after every single joke. And, of course, that was the show one of my friends came out to see me. And I didn't bomb, but it was like It was, you know those days when just nothing's going right? That's like what it was, except it was in a 15-minute set. You know? I tell a joke, it would work, and then I try to build on that momentum, and then someone would be ordering really loud, and then I'd have to stop, and then I'd start over. It was just one thing after fucking another. So I was like, Jesus Christ. So then I get in a cab. This is a great thing about New York. You can do like a zillion spots. Jumped in a cab, and I went down to the new New York Comedy Club. Used to be run by Al Martin, and they redid the whole fucking thing. And that was a place that I did not have any good memories of for the first fucking 3 years that I went there. Not 3 years, but that place, of all the places I went to, as hard as the Boston Comedy Club, the New York Comedy Club was the one that made me contemplate packing up my shit and going home. That fucking place was the land of the misfit toys fucking comedians. And that was one of those comedy clubs where you walked in and there was like 100 headshots on the wall and not one picture was of anybody that made it. I just remember thinking shit like that. The Punchline in Atlanta used to be like that. Jamie Bendel runs it, right? I used to say, Jamie, for the love of fucking God, at least near when you walk on the stage, can you have some headshots here of people that actually were successful? They had like the headshot of every fucking comedian who ever tried to fucking make it, and they left it up on the wall. I mean, some of them turned out to be big-time writers and producers, but you don't know that. You only know the performers. So the New York Comedy Club was like that times like fucking 30. And, oh my God, did I have some brutal fucking sets in there. Brutal sets. That's the first place I saw Mike Bichetti. And that place. But anyway, so they did a whole facelift on that place. And like, it was funny, like psychologically, I went back to where I was when I first was coming down to New York. And I went in and I sort of recognized the place. It was still sort of the same floor plan. And it was a great club. The lobby had happy, hopeful colors painted on the walls and shit. And I went up and ended up having a great set there. And then after that, I went over to the Stand. And then after that, I met up with Verzi and DeRosa and some other people. We hung out. And it was perfect. It was just like, I remember this. This is what fucking living in New York was. Aside from me being chilly, it was perfect. And then early in the day, I found a place where I could play drums at some rehearsal spot. So it was like the perfect fucking day. And then like an asshole, I stayed out till like 3:30 in the fucking morning, drinking like an idiot. Like a fucking idiot. Woke up the next day, I felt like shit. I didn't eat for like the first 12 hours of the day. And then what do I have to start? I have a fucking burger and fries. I was trying to go my whole time not getting a slice of pizza in New York. Because I always do that because all the pizza out here fucking sucks. Even the shit that's good sucks compared to pizza on the East Coast. And I finally gave in after the Patrice benefit. I went to this place right next to the Stand. And I was like, I'm just going to get one slice. And then I walked in. I was like, oh, that one looks good too. And then I got two. Burned the shit out of the fucking roof of my mouth. I remember sitting there just going like, Bill, just let him cool off. Just let him cool off. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just take a little, when you try to go in, like, you ever see like the run to the litter trying to nurse off the mom, just kind of going, I was going in like that. I still burned the shit out of my mouth and kept fucking shoving it down my pie hole. So anyways, I could not have had a better fucking time. And, I got to tell you, man, that Patrice benefit, like we definitely have our work cut out for us. For next year. We already have a couple of people in mind that we're going to try to get to it, to get on the show next year. So there you go. So that's it.